What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Forneworld podcast, episode 17. I am your host, as always, Forneworld, alongside my co-host and very good friend, Daniel Santos, aka Shintai Reviews. He's gonna fucking review some shit sometime, someday, somewhere. Tell them, Shintai, what are you reviewing today?
Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, Snapple facts. So today might be a short episode.
Snapple facts? That sounds like some fucking 90s pudding. It's like, Mom, buy me some Snapple facts.
Hey, you know, I like a good Snapple fact. You know what I'm saying? Like back when I was in Brooklyn, I'd get a Snapple and then pop the cap and immediately look and see what does it say, and it'll say some shit that I was too young to really understand and be like, hey, I'm smart, I know something.
Chocolate flavored?
Chocolate flavored Snap Pa. Like, maybe we're talking about different things. I'm talking about, you know, the Snapple would be like a Snapple fruit punch drink.
Are you talking about a real thing?
Yeah.
I thought you were making some shit up.
No. This big thing you get.
What?
Yeah, it's like a drink. It'd be like a Snapple fruit punch, Snapple iced tea, like, you know, different flavor. I like the fruit punch and whatnot. And, you know, you open it, and then on the cap, you'd open the cap, and it would have like a fact, like, Princess Diana was the princess blah blah blah, or Queen Elizabeth likes to gargle ball sacks or shit like that. Not that, but
I deadass thought you just said some random shit, and I was like, that sounds like some shit from the 90s, like some candy or pudding or whatever.
Yo, shout out to all my New York people that know what's up with the Snapple facts. Are you getting you a Snapple and a roll with butter, or a bagel with cream cheese with your Snapple when you're going on about your day? Real ones know what's good, okay?
Okay. Alright.
Shit.
Alright. Shit. Okay. My bad.
So we're gonna kick this off because we're pressed for time today. We got busy schedules, okay? Shintai gotta go fly 10 kites at a time, and I got a million fucking things to do with daggers on my back. Now, anime that changed the game for better or worse, meaning that they were revolutionary, they inspired the genre that they were in, they inspired certain tropes, whatever it may be. They made big changes that maybe even to this day are still being in effect due to these series. And I'm going to take it all the way back to the 80s real quick with Fist of the North Star. Fist of the North Star, definitely. I mean, you go to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3. A lot of people, I used to, before I started really getting familiar with like different anime and manga, I used to get confused with Kenshiro and Jotaro Kujo.
Yeah.
I used to think they were the same person.
They did look kind of similar. I mean, I can't blame you too much.
And like, for the longest time, like I would say now, considering like we went through a lot, you know, how long ago was Fist of the North Star? Like 30 years ago or some shit, 40 years ago. It's been
it came out in the 80s for sure. It came out in the 80s.
So it's been a while, 30, 40 years ago and shit like that. But for the longest time, it was a staple and revolutionary to the shonen genre. The big muscles, the explosive attacks, which was inspired by
the Omoiwa Shinderu.
Yes! Omoiwa mo Shinderu! Oh my god.
Nani?
Dude would fucking flick somebody and they'd explode like that for the longest time. And again, it shows that eventually culture does shift to the point where it's not as in effect. Like, you don't really see much of Fist of the North Star in today's anime. I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
More outright, because it's still probably, you know, techniques maybe that were inspired from it, or these authors probably don't even realize, because, like, you know, if Fist of the North Star, let's just say, inspired Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball inspired Naruto, and Naruto inspired My Hero, people aren't gonna really know, like, oh shit, this really came from, you know, the root of this inspiration for this particular event or this type of style is from Fist of the North Star. So it might even be subconsciously that it inspired a whole bunch of shit.
No, yeah, absolutely. And that's how inspirations go in general, where like you just like the thing that you like, and you don't really, more often than not, you don't really think about like, oh, but what was it that came before that? You're just focused on the thing that you like, and then you'll make something that, you know, is inspired by that because it was your favorite thing.
Yeah, yeah. Quickly, like, cause it's been on my mind since I mentioned this. With music, people don't realize, like, cause auto-tune has become a staple in music for the last 15 years or some crazy shit, right? People don't realize that majority of that inspiration comes from T-Pain. T-Pain
Yeah.
was the auto-tune dude with I'm Sprung, I'm in love with a stripper, those songs. Over time, like ever since, like I want to say after 08, 09, maybe even a little after that, T-Pain isn't as relevant, so then the newer audiences don't realize that, like that auto-tune, Travis Scott, all that stuff originated from T-Pain, and T-Pain
Yeah.
is a humble guy, so he's not going to come out and start screaming, yo, I'm the guy, but he's the catalyst of those events. So, you know, inspiration, it'll still be there, but unfortunately the originator might not get the recognition, which is kind of shitty.
It happens, but you know, like you said, T-Pain's a pretty cool guy, so I mean, he's pretty. I'm sure he's doing just fine too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's not like crying himself to sleep, going like, nobody cares about. No, I'm sure he's like sleeping on, you know, his fucking millions. He's doing great.
Yeah. You got any series that you feel revolutionized anime and manga?
I don't think a conversation like this could go on without mentioning Evangelion.
Woo! Mind fuckery.
I don't think like that anime is so influential. Like, say what you will about the show itself, it is contentious. Like, there are a lot of people who say it's one of the best anime ever made. A lot of people say it's super overrated. But whatever. It doesn't matter what you think. Facts are facts. That show is the reason why anime is the way it is today. Period. There's no arguing that. Like, that's how influential it is. Like, and you can make that argument for Fist of North Star as well to an extent, but like, Evangelion absolutely changed the game. There are so many works, even outside of anime, that were inspired by Evangelion. Like, so many video games especially have been inspired by Evangelion. Hell, you could, like, this might sound like a random pick, but like, fucking Fate Zero was inspired by Evangelion. Like,
How so?
like, there, you know, Nasu himself in an interview was like, oh yeah, I love Evangelion, and like he's like, you know, he didn't take ideas, but like he was inspired by it, and he did put it in Fate and in his other works. But like in Fate Zero specifically, in like the final episode, there is like a shot with a certain character. I'm not gonna say who it is. There's a bunch of clones of that character with eerie looks on their faces. That is visually totally an homage to a scene from Evangelion, where there's this character, there are a bunch of clones of them with weird looks on their faces. And there's another scene where, like, there's a character being choked. And it's taking place, like, in this weird, abstract thing outside of reality, and it's supposed to be, like, this metaphysical space or whatever. It happens in both shows. Like, dude, trust me. Like, it's weird when you look back on it. It's like, oh, okay, wow, this Evangelion has gone on to inspire so much. It is fucking crazy.
Yo, you say that, and it reminds me. I remember a couple of years back, I was in the studio. I was with this engineer that he had released an album. I want to say maybe like in the late 90s or some shit like that, early 2000s. I can't remember when it was released, but he was like a country singer. And I remember he was showing me like a few of his vinyl records of his albums. And I looked at one of them, I pulled it out, and I'm like, yo, this is, you know that classic image of Shinji where like his head is really big. I think it was like, yeah, his head is really big or some shit like that. Fuck, I can't remember the exact imagery, but I remember I looked at it and I said, hey, where were you inspired to make this? He said, oh, I'm not sure. I just got the idea from an artist, put it together for me, and I'm not really sure. And I was like, yeah, this was from Ava. Yeah, totally. It was
I think you're talking about the end of Evangelion, like, poster image.
Yes,
where
yes,
they're
yes,
like,
yes.
They're on the beach, and then there's like the giant head in the
Yes.
ocean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was just like, I'm amazed because, like, you know, I'm in the studio with some old time country singer and shit, and he's, you know, showing me his album. I'm like, how the fuck Evangelion made its way into his cover art?
Dude, there's a fucking rock band, literally dead ass, just called Gendo Ikari. Just name the fucking band.
I mean, hey, it's a badass name to be fair.
To be fair, and a great character too. Like I think one episode we were talking about like asshole parents, like
yeah,
and I brought him up because he is like the de facto like piece of shit dad. Like
yeah, that was an underrated episode that we did too. Not enough people were really into that episode. That was a dope episode, especially when you started breaking down Shinji's father and shit. I was like, damn.
He's a fucking amazing character. Like, I feel like Evangelion is one of those shows that, like, even if you end up not liking it, I think it's still worth watching just because of, like, the historical value. Like, it's had so much influence on the industry. And personally, I do like it. I do think it's a good show. But, like, even if I didn't, I still would have said, like, it was worth watching just because, again, you pointed out, fucking random, like, singer... like was in, you know, he didn't say that he was, but like you said, it was pretty obvious that there was Evangelion inspiration. It's like that's how massive the reach this show has, and I think it's worth watching just for that reason.
Yeah, they really need to hurry up and finish the movies though, because that is a bit ridiculous.
Nah, fuck those movies. It's all about the original show. Those movies fucking sucked.
You know you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. The commenters are gonna fuck you up, Shintai. You done stepped in some mud right now.
I don't care. The original show is where it's at. The original show is a classic. Those fucking rebuild movies, I wipe my ass with them. Get them out of here. I don't need them.
Oh my god, the disrespect right now. I see the torches coming. Shame.
Dude,
Shame.
It's literally let's do the show again. But worse. Like, fuck that. I'll just take the original show. Get out of my face with that shit.
I know I've heard for a long time now, fans are just so sick of how long they've been taking with them. That's something that I've heard, that which is a legit criticism of, like, come on, especially the it's been like pushed back. I think the third one was pushed back several times, and they're still waiting on what, the fourth one, the fourth and final one.
The fourth and final one, yeah, still waiting on it. Like, I've stopped caring. Like I said, I didn't even like them that much to begin with, and now it's like, man, who fucking cares? I'll always have the original, so whatever.
Yeah. You know, you brought up Fate, and I'd say Fate was a revolutionary one. I think it popularized more anime adaptations, even to the mainstream at that are based on visual novels. Like, and
yeah.
Even to a certain degree, the isekai genre, because, like, even though Fate is not really an isekai, obviously it's, you know, these warriors come to our world or whatnot, but isekai always kind of feel like, especially like a Re:Zero type of series, feels like it's meant to be a visual novel, and I think Fate popularized that. I mean, it's no secret that Fate is humongous in Japan, and it has like 10,000 fucking spin-offs and shit like that, but I think that Fate revolutionized and made it a bit more palatable for people to get into a series that has, like, you know, different routes per se, like, you know, Higarashi, even though it's a totally different type of story or whatever, it's also another visual novel. School Days, you know, for better or worse, I'd say that Fate helped to popularize that and made it a more notable trait to have in anime, like these, you know, visual novels.
I mean, a lot of people love Steins Gate, but would Steins Gate be where it is today if Fate Stay Night didn't come along first?
And it took a lot of bullets at first, you know, that original Dean adaptation. I think at the time, too, like, yeah, okay.
See, I would agree with what you're saying, but if we're directing it specifically towards the visual novel, I feel it's the visual novel itself that, you know, it started everything, and that was what, like, cracked the door open for, you know, all of these possibilities to be, you know, to be made available.
Right. Yeah. I mean, It's so weird too because it never got an official translation. It's one of the most. I think it is the most popular visual novel to never get an English subtitled format officially released over here in the West. Which
There's no argument. There is no other visual novel that with that criteria that I can think of that comes even close.
Like, and it's so weird, like, especially in the era when, like, you know how awesome it would be for especially people that, like, they travel and shit like that. Let's just say to have the Fate visual novel on an iPad and just be there, like, you're in the back of a ride. Let's say you got a 7-hour drive or some shit. You're just sitting in the back seat or whatever, playing the Fate visual novel. Like, that sounds amazing. I don't understand why it must be like some licensing agreements or some shit why they never do it.
I think it's a combination of licensing, and I think it's also just the simple fact that it's huge. There's like almost 1 million words to translate. Like, it's fucking enormous.
They would have to basically. It would have to be the payment for the people that translate it and bring it over here, or whatever, would have to be more so like a labor of love. Whoever was to translate it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the people that do it have to really want to do it, and would have to be willing to, like, not make as much money just because, like, otherwise the costs would be too high. Because it's not just a matter of translating. It's also a matter of, like, programming the game to accept the language. It's a monumental task.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the fan translation that we have currently is serviceable, but you can tell it was done by an amateur. Like, the writing is not the best. And that's not anything to do with Nasu's writing. It has to do with the fact that it was translated by an amateur. Someone, who's not a professional.
Okay, here's, it's a little off topic or whatever, but it just popped into my mind because talking about Fate, I brought up the isekai genre and shit like that. Would you say, because I know you've been critical of the series in the past, I have as well, that SAO, for better or worse, revolutionized anime as a whole?
In the sense that it popularized isekai, yeah, it has.
Yeah, but we've gotten a lot of questionable isekai along the way, and it also.
But we've also gotten good ones.
But it's oversaturated. Like, it's no secret that, like, isekai has become a huge thing. And again, that's a great thing in a sense of, like, okay, if you love isekai anime, like, and there's great ones, like, again, Re:Zero, one of the fucking amazing anime of the last decade or so. Awesome shit there. Rising of the Shield Hero is pretty dope as well. But then you have plenty other ones that people, including Sao Season 1, which I don't know if you've heard, they're remaking Sao 1, based on the visual novel that was a remake, not visual novel, I'm sorry, the light novel that was a remake, Sword Art Online Progressive. So seemingly they're going to make up for the shit tier stuff that happened, where they were skipping stages and all that shit from the first SAO. Did you hear about that?
I did not know about that. I would actually be interested in watching that because I thought season 1 fucking sucked. All of it. I know a lot of people say that, oh, the first half was pretty good, the second half would suck. Look, I'm not going to argue with second half being shit, but the first half was also shit. Sure, the second half was more shit. Fine, I'll agree with that. But that, like, if the second half was like a 2 out of 10, then the first half to me was like a 3 or a 4 out of 10. It was still bad.
I'd say 2 out of 10 is way too lowballing it. Like, maybe you could say if you want, like, story-wise, 2 out of 10. But to say as a whole, considering, like, that quality level of art, animation, the
sure,
action
and the music is great, okay. Like, fine, maybe I'm being too harsh.
At worst, you could say maybe a 5.
But the point I'm trying to make is, like, I thought it fucking sucked. I thought the story was trash. I thought the characters were trash. I thought it fucking sucked. But I am willing to admit that, like, that's probably not due to the source material. That's probably because they just didn't do a good job of adapting it. So if they can go back, fix it, do a good job. You know, I think I'd be interested in checking it out and kind of like comparing it and contrasting it and be like, okay, you know, what's different? What did they add? What did they remove? I think it would be interesting to watch it for that reason, to see how much better it is by comparison.
I wonder what the success of it is going to be like, because, you know, there's a lot of people that watch SAO. It's been popular already for... It's crazy to think about Sword Art Online is slowly becoming an OG, because I think the first SAO came out in like 2012, so in another couple of years, less than a couple of years, it's going to be like a decade-old anime. Like, it makes me feel old as fuck, because I remember when it first came out, I remember the reaction of the community. I remember people saying like, holy shit, you know, even view-wise, like, because at the time, if you didn't talk about like the big three or some shit, your videos on anime and manga were not getting views. It is the way it is. And I remember Sword Art Online being one of the first to step out of that mold, and if you talked about SAO, you're gonna get a shitload of views, and people were like, yo, what's going on here? So SAO did break barriers and did a lot of big things for anime as a whole over here. Like, people started, because again, like you said probably an episode or two ago, of the fact that SAO encompassed not only, you know, that the visuals of an anime that looks really gorgeous and shit like that, but is also about gaming as well.
Yes.
So it kind of brought those people in that game into anime, and that's probably what helped to popularize anime to where it's at today. The fact that, because gaming at that point had become sociably acceptable, and now those gamers were getting into anime and saying, well, now this is sociably acceptable too, to a certain degree.
Yeah, not to a certain extent, yeah. And I've actually been playing an MMO recently, Final Fantasy 14. So that's a very, like, MMOs are a very social game. It's all about playing with other people, working together, you know, getting into groups and going into dungeons and, you know, going through them, relying on your party members, you know, your friends, getting into like calls and talking with them, be like, yo, heal me, or, oh man, I died, can you revive me, or, hey, I need help with this. And, you know, that social aspect, the interactivity of it with your friends, being able to see that, though, like, because, like, if you think about it, those are like your stories, your personal stories in those games. So to see it animated is fucking cool.
I used to play MMOs, especially like between like 2011 and 2013ish. I played MMOs and shit, and I had a lot of good experiences and a lot of fun times doing exactly what you say, you know, talking with friends in calls and like, yo, heal me and shit like that. Like, that was a blast. So yeah, seeing it materialized into an anime and sitting back, it's like, oh man, you know, even though it's not the same, because of course they are like almost physically in the game to a certain degree.
Yeah,
it's still
like, if you've played MMOs, you could still in a way be like, this reminds me of when I was playing with my friend and I was just starting out and he was helping me out, or, you know, the other way around or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's relatable.
Now, because SAO was 2012, and that, you know, helped, like, like we just went through, like, you know, my favorite anime of 2020, which, you know, a later video I'll dive into it, but that ReZero wouldn't have been around or whatever. But there's certain elements that SAO didn't provide that made like darker stuff more palatable and more acceptable. Going fast forwarding to 2013, I'd say Attack on Titan was bigger than SAO and revolutionized anime in a different direction in terms of, I'd say that a lot of the more darker and grittier stuff that is mainstream is due to Attack on Titan's success. People saw it could be in a shonen format, because Attack on Titan is technically shonen, even though whatever, you know, with those labels and shit like that. It made, like, you know, such a splash. People called it a once in a decade phenomenon and shit like that. It was like the 2010s version of Death Note, in a sense of like just being weird and different, but huge and successful. And I think Attack on Titan, it didn't really inspire too many of like people series trying to be like it, but it inspired more like you could be mainstream successful and be really dark and edgy and shit like that. And that's what I think Attack on Titan contributed to anime as far as revolutionizing it. Am I off on that?
Yeah.
Or
I would no, I think you're right. And I think it also showed the mainstream that anime can be darker, can be more mature.
It's not all
and it's
Pokemon.
not just it's not just Pokemon, it's not just Dragon Ball, not to throw shade on either.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But even though Dragon Ball has its dark moments, I don't think either of us would say that Dragon Ball is like a really gritty, dark series. Like, not like that. You know?
Getting that license for Piccolo was rough shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that episode. But no, like, Attack on Titan kind of showed the mainstream, like, hey, anime has more going on. It's not one note. It's not all the same. Whenever I hear people complain about like all anime's the same, it's the dumbest shit. It's so stupid.
I hate that.
I hate it so much. And it's like, oh, I see more tropes in anime compared to other mediums. Shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
Like, to say that all anime are the same, where I could go from something like Attack on Titan, we just mentioned, to something like Blue Spring Ride, which is a romance anime and shit like that, like two totally different type. Like, yes, it's the same in terms of its animation, but that's where it stops. Not every single, like, sure, you're gonna find a trope and some similarities and shit, but you go to any other medium, like go to a Spider-Man comics and shit, you're gonna see a pattern and shit. There's patterns in everything.
Yeah, and it's like, I think people are really overcritical about tropes. Tropes are not inherently a bad thing, right? Like, just because you've seen something before, that doesn't automatically mean it's shit. Like, sometimes those things are reused for a specific reason. Sometimes they're trying to do a commentary on that type of character, or maybe it's a comedy and they're making a joke about that type of character. Just the very idea that something is being reused is not in and of itself a bad thing. People need to get that out of their heads.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a series like Black Clover, for example. Black Clover is essentially an amalgamation of almost all of the best tropes in shonen anime and shit. Like, you just imagine every trope that you could think of is in there, but twisted slightly, and it's a really dope and cool little series and shit. So to say that, especially like the era we're living in, the nostalgia era where everything is being brought back and rebooted and people are loving it and enjoying it and shit like that, that'd be ridiculous to say that just because I've seen it before it's bad, when everything you see nowadays is like, oh, remember this shit from the 90s? We're bringing it back.
Yep. It's like, yeah, people want to complain about there's no new ideas, yet what makes all the money? Old ideas being brought back.
Yeah, I wonder when that is going to actually come to an end, though. Because I could, in my opinion, I'll agree with one thing of just like, as a whole, it is a little exhausting and a little like, okay, with the reboots and all that shit, like, it starts to get old after a while. But then again, this is coming from somebody that I consume a lot of story throughout my week. Like, I watch a shit ton of anime, I watch this, that, and shit like that. So this is coming from somebody that I absorb a lot of content to the point where I'm gonna see all this shit constantly, day in and day out and stuff of like, oh, okay, whatever. But that's something where I'll agree of like, it's too much of constantly in all mediums, not just anime, of seeing like, oh, this is being brought back, that's being brought back. So that's where I'll agree to that point of like, everything is just constantly being brought back, and it's like, when are we gonna get to a point where, which eventually, everything comes to an end at some point. This era, this nostalgia rush is going to end, and I'm curious to see what's going to be moving forward, the next thing that people like, is going to be popularized in terms of like,
I don't think the nostalgia rush is ever going to end, because there's always going to be new things to be nostalgic for.
But it's like, okay,
no, because like, for a while, the 80s, it was all about 80s nostalgia. And then and now we're kind of like moving into like 90s nostalgia. Eventually, it's going to be early 2000s nostalgia. And it's just going to keep going like that. Because like, but the thing is, like, back in like the 70s, they had 50s nostalgia.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's never going to end. There's always,
That's true.
like, it's always just going to be constant.
I guess it's more apparent for our age group in a sense, because now we're getting to that point of noticing that it's nostalgia. But when we're younger, we don't realize. It's just like, oh, that's something new, because it's new to us at that point because we're young. But when you get older and you see like, oh shit, this is coming back, Fresh Prince is coming back, blah blah blah, it's like, yeah, now it's apparent because it became nostalgia. But when we were younger, it's you know, brand new, like
exactly. That's why it's never going to go away, because what's going to be nostalgic for you and I is going to be brand new to someone else, and they're going to have no idea until someone explains to them. It's like, oh no, wait, that's like based on this other thing from like 30 years ago, and they're going to be like, what?
And I could be biased by saying this because, you know, I love the 90s and some of the early 2000s and shit. But it's going to be a weird time when the newer shit that, you know, a lot of the newer cartoons and shows just don't have that same hit that the stuff when I was younger had or whatever. To see them coming back and being nostalgic, like, you know, 10, 15 years from now, like, it's going to be really weird. Like, I can't think of off the top of my head like a bad example, because like Adventure Time was kind of cool, but imagine when Adventure Time returns as like a nostalgic thing, like Adventure Time is back, or Gumball is back and shit. It's gonna feel fucking weird. I'm gonna feel like a grandpa at that point.
Nah, yeah. I mean, they kind of did that with SpongeBob recently. They re-released an old SpongeBob video game.
They did? Oh god.
Yeah. It was like the one SpongeBob video game that everyone liked, and they're like, we brought it back. It's with better graphics.
You know, you bringing up SpongeBob is funny that they've been milking the fuck out of SpongeBob. They got like 2 spin-offs going. A spin-off about Patrick having a daytime TV show, and another one like Bikini Bottom Troopers, some shit like that. They're milking
fuck that. The old seasons of SpongeBob were legit. After a certain point, it just like, I'm like, get it out of here. But the old SpongeBob was fucking funny.
Yeah. Like, I always remember, like, one of the first episodes I remember was when they went to, and we're in this anime podcast talking about SpongeBob, just last thing about SpongeBob, when they took off their helmets because they were at Sandy's house and they were, like, desperate for water. It reminded me of Fist of the North Star, now that I think
Yo, wasn't she, like, also... I don't know if that was the same episode, but there was also an episode where she got like delirious, and she thought that SpongeBob was Dirty Dan.
Yeah, that was. She was like this big fucking hulking monster because she was tired and it was time for hibernation. And him and Patrick were in the fucking spearwear. Dirty Dan, I'm Dirty Dan.
No, I'm Dirty Dan. And she comes out like, which one of you is Dirty Dan?
And Patrick's stupid ass, me, I'm Dirty Dan.
And she like beats the fuck out of him.
Oh, that was great fucking times, man.
Man.
Like
see,
you said,
the original was good. The old SpongeBob was fucking funny, man.
You could see the difference not only artistically but even vocally. Like after a certain point, SpongeBob's voice actor couldn't emulate the way he did the voice. Like you hear he gets a lot more high pitched later on down the road in the series, and that's too where you start to notice like, oh, this ain't the same anymore.
Yeah. Eventually that show lost its magic because a lot of the writers left as well.
And just a year or two ago, the original creator passed away too.
Ah, damn, that's right. Forgot about that.
But yeah.
Man, how'd we get to SpongeBob?
I don't even fucking know. I'm looking at the list like, yo, what the fuck? There's no SpongeBob in my list.
Hey, whatever. That's how we roll, baby.
Well, since we're on
Loosey-goosey.
the more lighty topic or whatever, Pokemon. I'd say that Pokemon, you know, for better or worse, even though Ash is still fucking 10 years old, 20 years later and shit, Pokemon was almost the measuring stick for success. Like a lot of back at that point, and I remember I forgot what interview it was of who, but it was somebody in the industry was talking about it, and how basically the Japanese were like, that was their dream of like, they want to create the next Pokemon, because don't mistake, like, yeah, anime is very popular, but there's no anime that is doing what Pokemon's like first and I even say second movie did back in the day. Like that was success on a very, very different level of even like, the Dragon Ball Super Broly or whatever the heck is going on right now. That was a different, like, I have my mom at like, we're 11 at night online waiting to, and I'm talking about an actual line, not the computer online. Like, we're on a line that is from like across the block to go watch that first fucking film. Like, that was a different level of success. And, of course, it inspired the Digimons, Bakugans, all sorts of shit of Japan trying to get that next Pokemon.
Yo, man, Digimon was cool. I remember really liking Digimon as a kid. Digimon, digital
monsters. I never really got into it like that, to be honest with you, because I was obsessed with Pokemon, and then eventually I got obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, my Yu-Gi-Oh! Which... talking about it real quick, I don't think there would have been a Yu-Gi-Oh! If Pokemon didn't blow up like that.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Like the card game, the Pokemon card game, which I'd argue that a lot of the Pokemon card game collectors and players and shit like that migrated over to Yu-Gi-Oh! Once that shit blew up, because like the Yu-Gi-Oh! card, that was legitimately an addiction. Like, I was addicted to buying packs of cards. I remember I used to buy box upon box. I would go all over New York City to different tournaments. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was another breed of addiction and just an animal of how much I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to have this little corner shop called, it was called Crazy Corner at first, and then he switched it to Game Corner. Every single day after school, me and my friends would meet up at Crazy Corner and buy packs and trade and talk about games and all sorts of shit. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is right up there with Pokemon in terms of like inspiring, because there was a lot of series that came after that was like, man, if I could be the next Yu-Gi-Oh! That'd be insane.
Mm-hmm. I personally, I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Myself.
Oh my god!
But I fucking loved Little Karibo's Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
Oh my god. Yo, shout out to Little Karibo. That was the
funniest shit.
Does he still do it, or?
I don't know. I stopped watching like a long time ago. But dude, that was like the first abridged series I ever watched and I ever really got into. Like, aside from Dragon Ball Z abridged.
Those are the only two abridged I ever really like dug into, and like I used to watch a lot, like the Dragon Ball Bridge and Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge.
Yep, same, me too. Those are the only ones. I remember there was a bunch of other abridged that would come up, and I was like, no, I'm all about Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball Z. This is the shit right here.
Yeah, it's a shame that like with copyright laws and everything getting more and more corporate and shit like that, like there's no room for a bridge series anymore like that. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge and Dragon Ball Bridge, shortly after they kind of exploded. Even Dragon Ball Bridge, not that long ago, Toei I think took down their channel. Well, they took down their channel a bajillion times, but just recently it got like even worse because Toei was really on them and shit like that. So is it safe to say that the abridged series format is kind of dead?
I mean, me personally, I haven't seen anything abridged recently, like at all. And granted, I haven't tried to look, but at the very least, I should tell you that like there's nothing that's like
coming to your attention
above. You know, like I don't think, and honestly, I don't think anything will ever top the popularity of Dragon Ball Z abridged. Like nothing will come close.
I mean, well, you look at it, Dragon Ball is one of the most popular anime worldwide, so that already gives it a plus. On top of that, it was very well done. On top of that, at that time, you could get away with shit that you're not in a billion years. Like, you could barely curse and say certain things in video, let alone copyright of using entire episodes and shit. And no, that's crazy to think about. Like, pretty much the abridged format is dead, and there's so many great things that could come from the abridged. Like, you know, even though I think they tried and failed, but like there could have been a Naruto abridged, there could have been a One Piece abridged, and maybe, you know, and shout out if there is a Naruto bridge, One Piece bridge, and people are working on it, kudos to you. I'm not trying to disrespect, but in terms of having that massive surge of popularity and people really getting into it, Dragon Ball Abridged and Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged were really the only two, and Dragon Ball was the biggest.
Yep, absolutely. Like, and that gave them such a leg up, honestly. Like, and I think that's why Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, even though I think it technically came first, was never as popular. Even though it was still like, it was like the second biggest one. I think I think because Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't quite on that like level of popularity compared to Dragon Ball Z, like it wasn't as well known, even though it was still like one of the biggest.
Yu-Gi-Oh was more, people were into the card game more than the actual anime. The anime was very, very popular, but people really loved the card game. Dragon Ball, people loved everything about it. The anime, the figurines, all
That's
of
a good
that
point.
shit.
Yep, you're on the money.
Man, that's crazy, yo. RIP to the abridged genre. Like, that was a great and creative idea, and it's just a shame. It's just showcasing the change in the internet. The internet used to feel like the wild, wild west, and as things move forward, like they remove creators when they feel like it, censorship and shit. Like, yeah, eventually the internet is slowly but surely, like, with the way things are going and the financial possibilities slowly closing in and shit like that, it's only a matter of time before the internet turns into what cable TV is. Like, I don't want to say like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, but after a certain point, everything, Netflix's prices is rising. It's just kind of going full circle to what we just got out of not that long ago.
Yeah, that's true. It's a fucking bummer.
It is, because it used to feel like freedom and shit, like,
Yeah, liberating. And now it's like, oh, we're back to the same shit.
like, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, me and you could post up a video of us just like talking shit about I don't know, an anime character for 5 minutes, and that video blow up or do decent. Now you gotta play by the rules of the algorithm. The introduction to the YouTube algorithm, Twitter algorithm, Facebook algorithm, all of that completely decimated creativity of what can be done. Like, before, you could try anything and it'll go. Now you gotta try in particular, strategize. I mean, shout out to the people that they just do their thing and they go. There's always the exceptions to the rule, but in 2020, there's certain ways you gotta move in order to get your shit out there. And yeah, it's nuts. And again, I don't know how we got to here, but
Hey man, we just gotta go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah, and to wrap this one up, I got like one more which kind of ties into a million other things, and I said it earlier, but basically the shonen formula from Fist of North Star, then it went to Dragon Ball, then it went to Naruto, and it's interesting how Naruto did inspire a lot, but it's kind of funny how it almost feels like Rock Lee inspired a lot of the upcoming shonen that came out after. Like, My Hero Academia and Black Clover, both of their main characters started out as people that don't have the particular power that world system has. Like, Deku starts out, he doesn't have a quirk. Asta starts out, he doesn't have magic. And this is, it's really weird, because Naruto started out, he was just kind of weak, but he did have chakra. He was able to do things. He was just very weak. These two start out with no, this is a superpower filled world. Deku doesn't have superpowers. This is a magic filled world. Asta doesn't have magic. So it's really interesting that a side character that was really loved, Rock Lee versus Gaara is arguably one of the most favorite and best fights in all of Naruto history and shit like that. He inspired a lot of these upcoming shonen. Even one of the latest ones, Marshall, is only like 30 chapters in, is about a guy, and it's more like One Punch Man type of comedy based in a sense, but he uses his muscles in a magic filled world because he doesn't have magic, but he's just really that damn good. So Rock Lee, shouts out to Rock Lee.
Yeah, fucking everyone likes Rock Lee, because Rock Lee represents like hard work and determination overcoming adversity. Like, it's this idea of like, hey man, if you just fucking put yourself out there, you try your fucking best, and you just work hard, you could fucking do it. And people really appreciate that sentiment.
And it's crazy because, like, Naruto represented that idea too, but I think along the way, because, like, unfortunately Rock Lee got shafted after original Naruto and didn't really get much development, and Naruto did get development, but some of the development towards the end especially kind of contradicted Naruto's message of hard work overcoming and basically even Neji's ideology of, destiny and all of that shit, because eventually you find out that kind of Naruto was destined and kind of a chosen one, essentially, because of this whole Asha and Indra and all this other shit, which kind of convoluted his message, but it didn't convolute Rock Lee's. So I think that's why, too, again, like, Rock Lee is like, oh, it's still safe. His message was never really sullied, so to speak.
No, I never really took it as like Naruto represented hard work. For me, Naruto was more like he just didn't give up. Like,
yeah,
because Naruto was kind of lazy too, because like he didn't want to study, he didn't want to practice and train or whatever. But like whenever shit goes down, Naruto never backs down.
I'll
like,
be there.
Yeah. But I did drop off at some point. So some of the other shit you said, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, basically, like in late Shippuden, you find out that like Naruto inherits one will and Sasuke inherits another will of some like two brothers that's been fighting for generations, and like now Naruto has inherited the good brother, quote unquote, and Sasuke has inherited the bad brother, quote unquote. So it even more so like goes against and defeats the purpose of, hard work and determination will get you over the hurdle, when you find out that, well, he's kind of destined for greatness essentially all along. So that was something that people went back and forth. I mean, I don't really want to, because this is a long rabbit hole of shit. I would just say this: even if you're destined for, like, let's just say you have this will or whatever, if you don't do nothing with the will that is you inherit, it's just gonna, like, let's just say if Naruto, even after he finds out, oh, I'm supposed to be great, well, I'm gonna just go touch my ball sack for the rest of my life in a fucking cave somewhere. That's the end of it. So the fact that Naruto pushed forth, whatever. But yeah, I'm totally going down a rabbit hole. I'm not doing.
Yeah, I think that's going in a different direction. So, let's bring it back.
Yeah, that was like a fucking discussion from like 6 years ago now. But point being is, Naruto, a side character at that, more so, really inspired a lot of shit that came out after the fact that is still, like I said again, Marshall is only 30 chapters in, and the main character even kind of looks like a mixture of like a Rock Lee, or like he has like the bowl cut of like a Rock Lee or Mob from Mob Psycho, and he's muscular and he works out. Like, it's just straight up like, imagine Rock Lee, but instead of it being a ninja world, it's a magic world, and Rock Lee is the main character.
Cool. I can't believe we spent like almost 50 minutes on this fucking topic.
Yeah, we got a lot out of it.
A little. We dig a little too deep, but that's all right.
Nah, I like it. We really dissect the fuck out of some of this shit. But yeah, to put a pin in it, inspiration happens.
Yes. Agreed.
Quickly, before we wrap this up, what have you experienced this week? Have you jumped out of a helicopter? What's gone down in the week of Shintai reviews?
So, no jumping out of helicopters, unfortunately. But as I alluded to earlier, I read Scott Pilgrim, the graphic novel, and so I saw the movie when it first came out and really liked it, and just recently they were saying, we're bringing back the video game, because the video game came out around the same time, and it got removed, and now that people were bitching about it for years, and now they're like, okay, fine, we're bringing the game back. And then I realized, oh shit, I never read the graphic novel. I never read the original like comic book. So I heard good things, so I was like, let me check it out. So it's pretty short. It's 6 volumes, and it was fucking great. Honestly, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot more than the movie, and I already liked the movie. I thought it was a cool movie, but the source material goes a lot deeper, and so kind of like the message that I took from Scott Pilgrim is that, like, so Scott, like, a lot of the book is kind of gets across like Scott's kind of a piece of shit. Right? Like, he's not a good guy. And at first, it kind of makes it like a joke. But then towards, like, in the final volume especially, it kind of recontextualizes his behavior. And it makes you realize, oh, it's not just that he's dumb, because he is dumb, but what he's doing is he's also like he doesn't want to face himself. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to live with who he is. So he kind of like pushes his mistakes away and he tries to forget them.
And he was a pilgrim.
No. That's just his last name.
Nah.
That name is actually from a song that the writer liked. But anyways.
So book or movie?
No, book's way better.
Okay.
Way better. And again, I like the movie. It's a good movie, but the book's way better. And another thing I took from the message that I really appreciate is like even if you've done some fucked up shit, like, you know, because Scott makes a lot of mistakes. Like I say, he's not a good dude, but you know, at the end, he learns to come to terms with what he's done, and he learns to accept like his mistakes. And he has a moment where he's like, oh, I don't, you know, at that point, like his girlfriend Ramona was gone. He's like, oh, I don't deserve to like get her back. And his friend Kim was like, you have to fight for her. And you could take that literally like, oh, you have to fight the final boss or whatever to earn her back. But I took that more as like
metaphor.
You know, like no, yeah, you have to. It's good that you've gotten to the point where like you acknowledged you're self-aware, but now you have to like do the legwork. Now you have to actually put yourself out there and be like, you have to be the change that you want to be. You know, you have to work for it. You have to earn it. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the message of like, yeah, you know, you're not defined by what you've done in the past. You don't forget about it. You still acknowledge it, but also use it to be better.
Yo, that's a valuable and powerful, especially that we're almost closing the episode. That was really dope, and that was a good analysis of. I never got into Scott Pilgrim, but that's really fucking powerful.
I would say to give the books a shot. There's only 6 of them, 6 volumes. It's fucking great. Like I really loved it. It's really funny, and it's a lot of fun. And the characters are really enjoyable, and the dialogue is good. But like at the end, when I really reflected on what it was trying to say, was when it like went next level for me, and that's when I was like, no, this is genuinely great. Like this is actually really, really good.
Well, shit. Per Shintai's recommendation, people check out fucking Spot. I almost said Spot Pilgrim. Spot Pilgrim.
Spot.
See Spot run. No.
Yeah, here, Spot.
Scott Pilgrim, people.
Yeah.
Shit, on my end, I saw what I would argue is damn near a perfect anime. Absolutely fucking amazing. 11 episodes. Inuyashiki. It's basically this old man and this young teenager have like some alien spaceship or some shit there, turn them into like cybernetic beings. The old man decides to do good with his powers and like heal people that have cancer and broken legs and shit like that, while the young teenager goes on a killing spree. And the fucking hilarious thing about it is he's a major One Piece fan, the young teenager.
What?
Yeah, so like he'll go and like he'll kill this girl's whole fucking family, her mom, dad, brother, and all that shit. And he'll go and talk to her, and she'll be like, "But did you really kill them?" He'll be like, "Yo, what are you even talking about? We was just talking about One Piece. Are you serious right now?" Like,
yeah, what? What?
I'm telling you, Amazon Prime, and this is not sponsored. I would love for them to sponsor me because I fully gotta commend them for their anime selection. Amazon Prime, especially last year, I don't know about this year, but last year, they were monsters with getting Vinland Saga, Dorodo, and Inuyashiki. Inuyashiki is just, I would argue it's damn near 10 out of 10. I would only slight it just because there's some scenes that have CGI, in particular when like the robotic shit comes out of their back. Which is understandable because it's very fucking detailed and shit, and the manga adaptation it's difficult to adapt that high quality of art into anime without using CG. But fucking incredible and absolutely amazing. I'm gonna have probably towards the end of this year, I'm gonna have a few different anime reviews of recommendations of people to check out these series. But Inuyashiki, I'd argue in terms of story, 10 out of 10. In terms of everything minus that CG, it's like a 10 out of 10. It's fucking incredible. The final, not even battle, I don't even know what you would call it. It's just so many things. There's one scene that I would argue maybe you would deduct like a .001 from it, where like there's this Yakuza motherfucker, and he's a disgusting animal. Like he fucking drugs bitches and all sorts of creepy fucked up shit. And like he goes into the sauna, and this one dude, he thinks he's like, you know, like tough and shit, and he's like, yo, what the fuck you doing in here? I'm not leaving, get out of here. And by the end of the fucking scene, he grabs the dude's head and forces the dude to give him fellatio, and he says, suck till I come. And that was the most disturbing, random fucking scene of an anime that I've seen in quite some time. I'm like, alrighty then. This dude forces dudes to give him head, injects drugs into women, rapes women. Like, this dude is a fucking disgusting monster. So that episode,
he's just a monster.
Yeah, that episode is like, okay then, Inuyashiki, but man, it's refreshing too to see a series where the MC is a fucking like almost 60-year-old man, but it's still so good. Like, I can't recommend it enough. Like, Amazon Prime did their thing last year. We're getting like the best anime titles of the year.
Wow. I never would have thought that I'd be interested in watching an anime about a serial killer that loves One Piece.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's by the author of Gantz. So one of the other main characters, like you go to his room and he just has Gantz posters everywhere. He even talks about Gantz and kind of pokes a little fun at the fact of like how everybody was criticizing Gantz. He's like, yeah, it's by that author. You know, he's obsessed with killing, and everybody on 2chan hates him and bashes him. They just don't understand Gantz, okay? Like. It's fucking
That's
incredible.
pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Highly recommend. Like I said, I'm gonna have towards the end of the year, I'm gonna have a few different anime reviews I'm trying to do. But Inuyashiki, it might have been one of the best anime of last year. It was 11 episodes, short, sweet, insane, and yeah, crazy shit.
Cool.
Well, it seems we're at that point. We actually made it pretty far. I thought we were going to be a little short in, but
yeah, I thought so too, but we fucking made it. Full episode.
We did it, lad. We fucking did it.
Got this bread. Yeet for this wheat.
Yeah, buddy. If you guys watching, if you have an anime that you feel really revolutionized anime as a whole, did some crazy shit, inspired certain series or whatever, let us know. What have you watched or enjoyed for the week? And yeah, anything else you guys want to recommend us something to talk about, as always, drop a comment and give us your suggestion. But that's all we have for this episode of Forneworld Podcast. I'm Forneworld, he's Shintai. And as always, people, have an awesome day, mate. And check out Scott or Spot Pilgrim and Inuyashiki.
Scott, not Spot. The movie is good too. The movie is good too, but
you said books over movie. Don't lie.
But the book's way better.
There we go.
I'm just saying the movie's still pretty good, but the books are where it's at.
Yo, Shintai, I've had the peace sign thrown up for like 15 seconds. Let's wrap this up.
Let's go.
Have an
Let's
awesome
go.
day.
Let's go.